Welcome everybody to the Arts and Humanities overview session for DKU Bound. My name is Rebecca Zhao and I'm part of the International Enrollment Management team at Duke University. Excited to have you all here. And as mentioned, I see a lot of you guys coming from all around the world. We've had Nepal, Uzbekistan. I know I mentioned a couple of countries earlier, but so great to have you here. And I can't wait for you to learn all about what Arts and Humanities at DKU has to offer. I'm delighted to introduce you to our DKU faculty today, Professor Selina Lai-Henderson. She's an associate professor of American literature and history at Duke University, and I'll just pass it over to her for her to give you an overview of Arts and Humanities.
Hello, everybody. I don't actually see any faces, so if you can all just turn on your cameras, if you can, I'll really appreciate it. So I get to see your faces a little bit more. You know, I've been teaching actually before January. This year, it has been hybrid. I mean, it continues to be hybrid because some students haven't been able to come to DKU, but as you know, COVID had hit us really hard. And so I've been doing hybrid at times entirely online for on and off 3 years. So it's incredibly exciting when students made the journey all the way to DKU. And I'm sure you have a lot of questions going forward as to what sort of logistics and challenges and exciting moments to anticipate going forward. So here, let me share the screen if I can. So I am gonna say a few words about myself before I move to the very exciting Arts and Humanities division. So I am originally from Hong Kong, and I've traveled around the world, just like many of you, I would imagine. And I've studied in Germany, the United States, and my academic journey has been one filled with exciting experiences across these different places. But so I'm primarily an American literary scholar, and I love looking at works of American literature in transnational spaces, basically looking at how works written by important writers such as Mark Twain. Have you heard of Mark Twain? Most of you, okay. How Mark Twain has been looked at in China, for example, different historic moments, and how his works have been translated. And so from there, I look at how the question of race, for example, gets transposed in a radically different space, such as China, and the responses through which really reveal a lot of interesting questions and conversations on interracial dynamics and Sino-US relations. Say you take, Huckleberry Finn outside of America and then put that in China and see what kind of conversations it inspires, right? In terms of race, in terms of intercultural dialogue. And so I'm just among one of the many amazing faculty in Arts and Humanities at DKU. And we have a very vibrant and international faculty itself in Arts and Humanities. And we are a very active division. Actually, I must say we're the funnest faculty on campus. So let me just share a document quickly to introduce the division. So you see this beautiful catalog here. Division of Arts and Humanities, and phase 2 is being built and actually is almost done. So the campus size by the time you come will double in terms of use of space, availability of facility, and whatnot. And so it's a beautiful campus. If you go online and find pictures, I'm sure you've seen our campus in photographs and brochures as you were applying to DKU. So here, let me point you to this little chart here. As you may know, we are a very interdisciplinary institution. So a lot of our majors are by nature double major because all of the majors actually cut across different divisions. So you see that in Arts and Humanities, right over here, there are different majors that are steeped in art and humanities, but at the same time, many of which cross into social sciences. And in particular, our computation and design also straddles across natural sciences. So a lot of our faculty do work that are transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary and in very engaging ways, right? We have faculty who do history, literature, like I myself, I do literature and history, the crossing of both, right? There are philosophers who look at different components of literature too, for example, philosophers who also are religious studies scholars. And we also have a very vibrant media and art program, right? We call it creative practice. So if you want to make films, for example, you have that opportunity, or you want to study film from a more historical viewpoint, we do that a lot. As a matter of fact, my writing sample class is about that, basically looking at the opening of a famous film and examine the text, how it is expressed on the screen. So I think actually our media and art major is extremely popular because a lot of students are just so excited about expressing the life stories and writing out their life stories and turn that into creative practices. And so this is an area that a lot of students are increasingly into. We always say that you cannot be a great filmmaker without having solid foundations, for example, in literature and history, philosophy, religious studies, and whatnot. It is not so much about the hard skills than your vision based on your understanding of the human condition, right? In history classes, for example, and literature classes, we often emphasize the value of understanding the human condition and how that enables us to transcend certain nationalistic viewpoints and be able to understand each other and your peers from across such a vast cultural backgrounds, right? So we have students from over 60 different countries. Yeah, so that's quite impressive. And our classrooms are actually very dynamic, you know. So I teach Global China 101. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's the Common Core for first year students. And in my classroom, there's students from 6 to 10 different countries. And we often have really engaging conversations on China and the place of China and its engagement in the world, right? It's just, there are heated debates and conversations in many classes, which make it very valuable. And so it goes back to the core, one of the animating principles of DKU, the idea of rooted globalism, and how do you understand where you're coming from as you engage your set of values and understanding to the world. And that is often realized through practice in terms of interacting with the classmates from different backgrounds and engage in activities on campus with people who are otherwise very different from you in terms of backgrounds, you growing up and understanding the world in a place like China, right? In a place like Kunshan, which is very close to Shanghai, only half an hour away on a high-speed train. And yeah, there's a lot to explore. And I live in Suzhou. Suzhou is about 40 minutes away from Kunshan. And so the commute is long, but I literally experience, the transportation from one cultural space to the next, right? Even within this short distance. So we have conversations like these. We look at text, as you know, arts and humanities, we focus deeply on understanding and interpretation of texts. Text, that doesn't only mean reading from paper, but also it could be film as text, music as text. And so we have a faculty now who specializes in composing. And so we have quite a lot of music on campus of late. And that really adds to the beauty of the crossing of different disciplines in arts and humanities itself, into social sciences and so on. We have other majors, as you see in this blue and mustard color box, cultures and movements, ethnics and leadership, global China studies, US studies, media and arts. And these are all interrelated, right? So I am primarily in US studies, but I also now teach a lot in global China studies. But my work, it's quite steeped in global cultural studies too. And I have, over the course of my DKU career, I've co-taught with many different faculty. So to give you an example, I co-taught with a social scientist. Social scientists, political scientists in the social sciences. And I've learned so much from my colleagues in terms of, disciplinary approach, in terms of perspectives, right? And so it gives us a lot of valuable just interactions, co-teaching with one another. I'm sure you'll see that too when you're at DKU, the kind of dialogue between faculty in arts and humanities and social sciences in particular, it's very vibrant. So we also have a recent interest in gender studies. So we're trying to launch something in that area too. Gender studies also goes all the way to natural sciences in terms of the study of biology and how that interacts with gender theory, something that it's quite rare even as a conversation, as an approach in many other institutions. But at DKU, we really try to experiment interdisciplinary dialogue. And so you see a beautiful faculty here on this brochure on your right. So you can take a deeper look at it on the, I think, faculty website at some point. And I think we have about 34 faculty in the division. And we have creative writers, filmmakers, archaeologists, war historian, business historian, scholars that study slavery, comparative literature scholars, and here digital media, and so forth, philosophers and whatnot. So every year we have visiting fellows from Duke. A lot of them are creative practice. And so they come to teach classes on photography, for example, on filmmaking, on cultural interactions. And Jay Winter, for example, he's actually a retired professor of history at Yale. And now he's quite involved at DKU. So every year we have exchange fellows coming to DKU to teach classes. And what the kind of conversations after even they finish the term would go on for years to come. So these are some of the very valuable things that we have. I mentioned film so much because actually, as soon as students started to come back in January, we started a film series, right? Because before then, the campus was quite quiet because of all kinds of concerns over COVID. But now as measures and requirements were lifted, all of a sudden the campus is just filled with activities every single day. Sometimes you have like film screening twice a week, 3 times a week, and now students really want to organize themselves to show films, and we have popcorn and bubble tea to provide, and there's a lot of good conversation going on through these activities. And so I think it is particularly strong in the arts and humanities when it comes to these cultural events and showcasing students' work, for example. And what's really amazing about arts and humanities is that we have a humanities research center. I encourage you to take a look on the website. This is one important center. Actually, the only research center in the Division of Arts and Humanities. There's also a center of the study of contemporary China, and that's in social sciences. And I think in the natural sciences, there are a couple of other centers and institute. But what we do in the Humanities Research Center, I'm actually on the advisory board, and I've been involved in the center since I entered my job at DKU back in 2018. It's a very student-based research center. It focuses a lot on faculty research interaction, research possibilities for our undergraduate students. You see on the right that there are different labs, right? And actually this lab idea is based on the Duke idea. Duke has a lot of labs, lab as a thing that is not only limited to the sciences, but also in arts and humanities itself. The research center is funded entirely by Duke. And so there's a lot of crossing between DKU and Duke when it comes to dialogue and activities and events, funding and so on. So if you look at Freedom Lab, I'm the co-director of Freedom Lab with Professor Jesse Osowski for over 3 years now. It's been incredibly fulfilling. We've worked with a variety of students to help with faculty research, right? Normally you think about research assistants being a graduate at the graduate level programs, but actually at DKU, we make this is very available to our undergraduates. And even if you're first year, you can already involve in our labs. Different labs do different things, like Third Space is very much focused on linguistics and language, cultural acquisition, right? We have documentary lab that emphasizes looking at documentary films and making films and whatnot. We invite a lot of speakers in all of these labs, and we have student groups and we meet regularly. And so these are the things that are very rich on campus life. So if you have any questions about these labs or opportunities going forward, definitely let me know. We have an annual, which is coming up soon, undergraduate conference in April. So you have the opportunity every year to submit a topic that you love and then present it in the Humanities Research Conference. Again, it's another exciting opportunity, not always available in other institutions, but at DKU, you always have something that you can, put on your CV, if you will, right? Because it's valuable experience, sharing your thoughts and excellent work that you've written with your classmates in a conference format. And so, pay attention, stay tuned of what's going to happen in the undergraduate conference on the website that I sent you. And so this is another area that I would highly recommend and would emphasize within arts and humanities. Let me see if there's anything else. Media lab. We have a media lab where you can use a lot of, there are a lot of computers available for practice and for after class work. Book publishing and printing studio. So you can see what kind of work we do as faculty. We care deeply about research. And I think a lot of students don't actually know that we care very much about teaching, right? I mean, we putting a lot of emphasis on creating a vibrant classroom for our students to engage with one another. But we also care very much about our research, right? Research is actually the most important, if not equally important as teaching, sometimes more important in terms of driving what we do at the forefront of scholarship. And we care about introducing our students to what we do as well in the classroom. Very often you'll see what you learn in our classes are what professors do with their own research. And so imagine that kind of passion, the desire just for faculty to introduce what we do, right, into the classroom, I think, is often mutually beneficial, right, for you to understand, for example, what is the most important topics going on in gender studies, what is the most important, topics that have been discussed in translation and creative writing, which, by the way, is a new track. I think when you come to DKU in the fall, you will have an additional new track under Global Cultural Studies, I think. GCO, yeah. And it's called the Creative Writing and Translation track. So for you, any of you who are interested in different languages, then it will be major to consider. And what I find really valuable about our DKU community is that students are at least bilingual, right? You come in as, for example, you speak only one language, and then you come into DKU, you have to take Chinese classes. You have to at least navigate how to call a car, right? Get into a Didi. Didi is like the Uber version of the Chinese Uber. And very often you also have to navigate how to order takeouts and go to places. And these are, some of the life scenarios that require the use of Chinese. And I'm sure in no time your Chinese will become better and better. And so I guess the multilingual environment at DKU is what makes it very engaging in terms of this like cultural, intercultural interaction. And so you see all of that in our classes, actually. But so to say, if you're interested in translation and creative writing track, then this is something that you can consider. Some of our faculty do really interesting artwork. This is a photo of something that's showcased in a museum space, right? You see a lot of this kind of exhibition on campus and outside of campus. And now that our campus space is growing, you'll see a lot more, I think. I'm I'm very excited for you guys coming to DKU in the fall, where you see a very different space than the existing space, which is already quite fun and engaging. So I think that's about it for Arts and Humanities. Of course, there's a lot more I can say. I just don't want to keep talking and talking, and I want to make sure you have the opportunity to ask any questions you have at this point.
Well, I typed most of the questions in the chat. Just another one that came up. What is the equipment? So for example, if I want to do like a film in the creative practice faculty, what is the equipment I have access to? Is maybe there's like a camera I could rent or something like that?
Yes, absolutely. We have abundant equipment on campus. You can borrow those film gear, and we use pretty top-notch stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
I had a question about like the religion department. Do you know about like the academic freedom to study religion within DKU?
Yeah, so we have academic freedom in the classroom, absolutely. And we talk about a variety of things, right? In terms of, sensitive topics and topics that concern people. And yeah, we're very, basically, we encourage such kind of conversations. I think especially with students from across cultures and different backgrounds. I think you'll be surprised at the exciting dialogue that we have of religious studies. And actually, we have a very big religious studies team. I think five faculty or so. We have religious studies scholars that study East Asian traditions, Taoism, and mostly Taoism, I think, Taoism and Zen Buddhism. Yeah, there's a scholar, Professor Ben Van Overmeer. He studies Zen Buddhism in literature, and he's from Belgium. And yeah, there's a lot of interesting scholars doing fascinating stuff.
That's so cool. Thank you.
That's really cool. Thanks so much, Tim, for your question.
So how much, how do I explain it? What is the ratio of like how much is the theoretical part for filmmakers and like the practical part? If you understand
That's
what I
a
mean.
good question. I would say, well, for anybody who majors in filmmaking, right, they have to take the foundations of Arts and Humanities, both 1 and 2. And those courses are a little bit more theoretical. I guess theoretical is not necessarily studying theory, but more textual analysis, for example, understanding of different disciplines in the humanities, and looking at literary text. For example, that's just, I guess you can call it theoretical, but there are moments in components in different classes that do look into the theoretical framing of things. And so you can find, if you're interested in theory, you can study a class with a comparative literature scholar, for example. I mean, he does a lot of those theoretical stuff. But with practice classes, they really focus on the practice component of filmmaking. There is some sort of introduction into how to use, angles, the cinematography, and photographic composition and whatnot. I mean, there's some basic component on that at the lower level. At the higher level, so what's great about our curriculum is that you do find what you need in terms of interest and what you think and what our faculty think to be important as to enable our students to be great filmmakers. And same for other disciplines, right? So there's a lot of crossing, and you take classes from the social sciences, for example, and if you want to learn more about gender, then there's gender theory and feminist movements in social sciences and arts and humanities, and you can make a film on that too. And yeah, so different spaces and opportunities.
Thank you.
And you can contact me about student work. I think if you're interested in, we do have a lot of student works. Film, we just finished showcasing our signature work projects at DKU. And there are films that have been played, and students have done fantastic jobs. But contact me so I can see what links I can potentially offer on student films. All right, thank you so much for staying up, everybody. Get some sleep, Metfi, and get some dinner for those of you who haven't eaten. And I hope to see you at DKU. Write to me anytime.
Thank you, everybody, for attending, and thank you, Professor Lai-Henderson, for hosting such a wonderful session on Arts and Humanities. Lovely. So I'll end there. Feel free to, if you have any questions, pop them into the chat. I'll keep it open for another 5 minutes if you do. But other than that, I hope you have a wonderful night for some and a wonderful day for everybody else.